Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true. 25-year-old teacher found dead at Clarendon home. The Clarendon police are investigating the death of a teacher whose body was found outside her home in Howell Gardens, Maypen in the parish on Monday night. The deceased has been identified as 25-year-old Vanessa Williams. Police reports are that Williams returned from work on Monday afternoon, but several calls to her phone went unanswered. Her body was later discovered on the ground in the yard about 10:49 p.m. The police say the circumstances surrounding Williams' death are unknown at this time, but investigations are ongoing. Kingston man charged with murder, illegal possession of firearm. A run of almost 2 years eluding the law has come to an end for 38-year-old Dennis Mondell, following his arrest and charge for murder by detectives attached to the Counterterrorism and Organized Crime Investigations Branch. Mondell, otherwise called Jing Sing, of Spanish Town Road, Kingston 13, was arrested on warrant during an operation in St. Catherine on Friday, December 2nd. He was subsequently interviewed and later charged with murder and illegal possession of firearm and ammunition. His court date is being arranged. According to the police report, about 2:20 p.m. on Christmas Day in 2020, 21-year-old Romaine Atkinson was assisting a neighbor with dinner at Tiwara Crescent, Kingston 13, when Mondell and another man approached and opened gunfire, hitting Atkinson multiple times to the head and upper body. Mondell escaped and was on the run until the time of his capture. Traffic ticket relief if motorists pay by January 31 deadline. The new Road Traffic Act will take effect in February 2023, the Office of the Prime Minister announced. After wide-ranging deliberations and consultations with various government agencies and departments in relation to the implementation of the new Road Traffic Act in February of 2023, Cabinet gave definite instructions as it relates to the implementation and launch of the new traffic ticket management system, a press release from the Office of the Prime Minister stated. Cognizant of the overwhelming public demand for the effective implementation of the Road Traffic Act 2018 and a transparent and accountable traffic ticket management system, Cabinet has decided that legislative steps will be taken to render all demerit points and tickets across up to February 1, 2018 null. As such, they will not be transitioned to the new Road Traffic Act, provided that the tickets occurred after February 1, 2018 or paid before February 1, 2023. Demerit points will be expunged upon the implementation of the Act. Cabinet wishes to advise the public that as of February 1, 2023, with the new Road Traffic Act and the new traffic ticket management system, there will be greater efficiency with a fully digitalized process, the release stated. Cabinet also noted that over the last several years, the government has done significant work to build out a robust infrastructure to ensure the proper implementation of Road Traffic Act 2018 and its 2022 regulations, as well as a technological backbone for the modern traffic ticket management system. The release added, Cabinet recognizes the concerns of well-thinking members of the public and all law-abiding owners and operators of motor vehicles who continue to obey the rules of the road. The Corporate Area Traffic Court has implemented new sitting to include night court and Saturday court to accommodate an increase in persons wishing to clear their outstanding tickets. Legal Affairs Minister rubbishes claims SOEs were not valid, but the regulations were tabled late. Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs Marlene Malahou-Fort has rubbished claims that the recently imposed states of emergencies in several parishes were not valid, but the regulations were not tabled in Parliament. States of emergency were declared in St. Anne, Clarendon, St. Catherine, specified areas of Kingston and St. Andrew, St. James, Westmoreland and Hanover on Monday, December 6. The regulations were tabled in the Senate on Friday and in Parliament. Stakeholders had questioned whether the emergency powers were valid as of December 6, since there were no regulations tabled. Speaking on the issue of the late tabling, Mrs. Malahou-Fort said citizens were misled about why the emergency regulation took effect. Mrs. Malahou-Fort suggested that there is no legal requirement for state of emergency regulations to be tabled at the start of the measure.
The validity of the regulations was brought into question because it was reportedly said that until and unless the regulations were tabled in the Parliament, they were of no legal effect. I should like to advise that the regulations in question were promulgated by the Governor-General pursuant to power to do so granted by Parliament under Section 3 of the Emergency Powers Act. Any regulation so made shall be laid before the Senate and the House of Representatives as soon as may be after they are made, and shall not continue in force after the expiration of 7 days from the time when they are so laid before the Senate or the House of Representatives, whichever shall be later, unless a resolution is passed by the Senate or House of Representatives providing for the continuation. Madam Speaker, the regulations do not require any affirmative or negative resolution to commence as some other laws require. The Emergency Powers Act provides for the making of these types of regulations by the Executive, the Governor General, not the Legislature, Parliament. All regulations made under any law or other lawful authority and having legislative effect shall be published in the Gazette, and unless it be otherwise provided, shall take effect and come into operation as law on the date of such publication. Madam Speaker, it is most unfortunate that the people of Jamaica have been misled on this very important matter. The requirement to table the regulations speaks to their duration, that is, how long they last. The requirement does not deal with when they commence. And Madam Speaker, the regulations have been tabled in the House today, having previously been tabled in the Senate.
In response to Minister Mallahu Ford's statement, Member of Parliament for St. Andrew Western, Anthony Hilton, noted that clarity was needed on the SOE regulations. He suggested that there are still questions surrounding the regulations and how they work. Mr. Hilton noted that it has been the practice that the regulations are debated and discussed prior to the implementation.
Until I've seen and read this statement, I was not of that understanding either. And I believe that the fact that this statement had to be made in the context of what has been said by the eminent constitutional lawyer and others, that it speaks to the fact that the clarity is needed. And indeed, I believe it may not end here, because there are questions. There will be questions. Because the statements made are generally accepted that regulations are subsidiary legislation, and that in the main act of the law, it provides for the making of these regulations. It is not my understanding previously that all that needs to happen is that it is gazetted and laid on the table unless the legislation so specifically provides. Even in respect of this matter, there could be and may well have been an expectation that this matter would have been discussed and debated. So I believe that it's going to raise and continue to raise some questions as to A, whether the Emergency Powers Act are effective without the tabling, and raises the secondary question as to when it commences. If it turns out that the Honourable Minister is correct, then it's a moment of learning. It's a teaching moment for all of us.
Police Commissioner says Indicom report on fatal shootings lacks context. Commissioner of Police Major General Anthony Anderson has criticized the Independent Commission of Investigations Indicom for its recent report on fatal shootings by the police. In the report last week, Indicom said there were 126 fatal shootings between January and November this year. It also expressed concern that police officers were involved in many of the shootings. The police chief have taken issue with Indicom's report. Speaking at the St. Catherine North Divisional Awards ceremony on December 13, Major General Anthony Anderson said in many cases, Indicom's reports on fatal shooting do not provide enough context.
So here we have an officer, part of a team, who intercepts somebody with a high-powered weapon, move on from there, having gotten into information. So the person who's intercepted is arrested with the high-powered weapon, not shot. It wasn't a threat. They didn't need to be shot. Then they moved on to another person who has been a problem in terms of his shooting of persons and shooting at the police. Charged, got bail, and is out there shooting again. So you have a confrontation. We have an officer shot, officer down, and he's shot and killed. The gunman, renowned gunman. When this story comes out later in a report, you're going to hear man fatally shot. That's the story. No context, no mention of the police officer who has been injured, nothing. Just another fatal shooting by the JCF. Now, that is, in my mind, dishonest, and I'm going to push back hard at this. It's not a narrative that I'm going to allow to stand, so I will be pushing back very hard on this nonsense.
Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell.